All right, everybody, welcome into the post-game show. Apologize for being a little bit late there. I just got done finishing up the network radio post-game on Altitude Sports Radio AM 950. We've currently got Avs and Golden Knights getting ready to drop the puck there on 92.5 here in just a couple of minutes. But we are here to react to Nuggets and Magic. So the Nuggets starting their first game of a 7-game 13-day East Coast road trip. They always have one of these each year. They'll be on the road for basically 2 weeks. We won't see this team at Ball Arena until the new year in 2026. But my goodness, this was one of the craziest fourth quarters I can ever remember. So like I said, I was here doing the network post game with KJ and Jason Kosmiski, the voice of the Nuggets, on the air. Kaz was telling us, we were talking to Kaz on the breaks. He's like, I can't remember a more crazy fourth quarter over the last handful of years for the Denver Nuggets. First of all, what made that quarter so weird to begin with is the fouls were just insane in that fourth quarter. The Magic were in the bonus less than 3 minutes into this game. The Nuggets were in the bonus shortly thereafter. So essentially both teams, every time there was a foul call, were going to the free throw line with 8.5 minutes to go in this game. I don't remember a game for quite some time where it was that many foul calls, especially in a fourth quarter. You know, I really try to be anti-complaining about the refs guy. I don't even think there were necessarily that many calls in the fourth were like that egregious. Both teams challenged calls in the fourth and won those challenges. So, okay, they got a couple of them wrong, but both teams challenged and won the challenges. So they corrected them there. But man, the Nuggets, this was a bad loss for the Denver Nuggets for a plethora of reasons. Mainly because the Nuggets had a 14-point lead at halftime. Like, this was going the Nuggets' way for the majority of this basketball game. In fact, let me pull up my notes here real quick. They led 93-84 at the end of the third quarter. So they had a 9-point lead at the end of the third quarter. The problem for the Nuggets is their defense in the second half of this game fell apart. I don't know if this team ran out of gas. Orlando was trying different things on the offensive end, which they were. I thought they were able to get into the painted area much easier in the second half of this game. In fact, David Adelman talked before the game started in his pregame presser that his number one concern in tonight's game was Orlando getting into the painted area, and specifically with Paolo Banchero, the first overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft. That was a big concern of his. Well, the Nuggets did a pretty good job of limiting their paint opportunities in the first half. The problem was the defense just fell apart in the second half, and they allowed way too many easy drives to the basket, to the point where, like, the Nuggets gave up 23 points in the first quarter, 25 in the second. Great defensive effort. They had a 14-point lead at halftime. Then they give up 36 in the third and 43 points in the fourth quarter. So the defense obviously ran out of gas there as the Nuggets lose their first game on a 7-game, 13-day East Coast road trip, as we'll add D-Mac into the show here. D, thanks for hopping on. Just got done with the network post game with KJ.
Yeah.
Thoughts on? I said this. We were talking to Kaz between breaks, D-Mac, while this fourth quarter was going on, and Kaz was like, "This fourth quarter is insane. I can't remember a fourth quarter like this. You know, both teams are in the bonus, like with more than 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. It was a free throw fest in the fourth quarter." And, you know, this was a bad loss for the Nuggets. They were a 14-point lead at the half. They had a 9-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and the defense broke down. And their Achilles heel, D-Mac, I've been telling you all year, their Achilles heel is turnovers. And the Magic had way too many points off of turnovers tonight.
Yeah, David Adelman, listening to him afterwards, Dan said, pointed out 17 turnovers resulting in 27 points. I mean, can't do it. I mean, that's terrible. You're just giving them buckets. That being said, Adelman was also ticked off that he had to use 2 challenges and lost the timeouts on the what I thought was unbelievable obvious push in Joker's back on a free throw there, and then on the jump ball was beyond obvious to me. And because those weren't called, the Nuggets challenged them. They won, but you lose your timeouts. That is a bizarre rule in the NBA, by the way. They have got to fix that. Why would you ever run out of challenges and timeouts if it goes your way, if it was the right thing to do, and simply the referees missed it? I guess I'll just ask you that question.
DMAC, I've been talking about this since they instituted that rule. I think it was a couple of years ago where they added the second challenge. And when they first did that, they're like, okay, well, we'll make it to where if you win your first, you get a second. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. You should just keep getting challenges until you lose a challenge. Because if they're changing the call on the floor, they are literally saying, we made the wrong call. Sorry about that. I'm 100% with you, man. I've been talking about that since they instituted that rule. I like that they added the second challenge because if you remember, it was only one challenge. When the first year they added challenges, you only got one challenge. Whether you won or lost, that's it. And then everybody's like, well, hold on. Like, that's not fair. So like, okay, well, we'll do 2 as long as you win the first, but that's it. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Adelman also said that this was the longest fourth quarter he ever remembers in his life. I feel bad for our hockey friends on the pregame show because that game that was not an overtime game, and the pregame show for the Avs starts at 7:30 on the TV side. So, what you still had an hour's worth of commercials on the TV side, Dan. It was pretty funny, all jammed into like 6 minutes. But you got to do what you got to do. And I don't know what chaos was going on there. You guys are probably pretty well organized back at the radio station, I'm going to guess. But it was just disappointing. The whole thing was disappointing. In my head, Dan, a successful road trip without 3 starters would be 3 and 4. But you got to win those 3 games, and you should pick up the wins that you can get. And this was one of them. This was definitely one of them. So things didn't go your way with calls. It shouldn't have mattered, though, as you pointed out. You had significant leads during this game, and you kind of blew it. And now the 4 road losses are crazy. First game of the year, Steph Curry, right? Portland, you got kind of robbed. And then 2 games on the road where the ball goes in and out for the game winner.
Yeah.
And those are your 4 losses on the road.
Well, and Jamal on that final shot, like stumbles a little bit, and just has to heave up a prayer. It's like, oh my goodness,
Yeah, well, they played good defense on the inbound, didn't they?
They did.
And it wasn't a great pass to Yoke on the inbound. And then you got to give them credit. As quirky as that shot was by Jamal, I'll take that over anybody else aside from Jokic.
You would take that over Peyton Watson wide open in the corner.
Correct? I would. In fact, it's funny. I look back at it. He did have Hardaway in the corner, and he had Spencer Jones cutting to the basket. But I'm fine with that. And it was in and out. I mean, hey, Jamal Murray hits that shot. I don't know, maybe 6.5, 7 out of 10 times, Dan. He really does. So I really don't have that big of an issue with that. You just, it's a shame that you got there in the first place.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like Jamal or Joker, obviously, are the top 2 options. You did have Hardaway wide open in the corner. I mean, hey, I trust Hardaway more than I do Peyton Watson, although Peyton's been, he's been really good from the corner this year shooting
Peyton
the 3 ball.
Peyton was in the other corner.
Yeah,
he was in the near corner.
So you had 2 options, and
wait. So do you think Jamal should have passed it? Do you think he should have ditched
it? No, because he stumbled, and like you said, it was a bad inbounds pass. So no, because of that. Now, if they get a clean inbounds pass and Jamal doesn't stumble, he's gathering the ball, DMAC, with like less than 2 seconds left. So at that point, there's no time to even think about making that pass. I get it. He made the right play. because of what happened leading up to that, he had to shoot it. There just wasn't enough time left. So I don't have any problems with Jamal shooting that. We've seen him hit clutch shots so many times. Same with Nikola Jokic. I'm fine with it. That's not what lost the Nuggets this game. In fact, all the foul calls, as much as we want to bitch and moan and complain about the foul calls in the fourth quarter, I get it. That's not what lost the Nuggets this game either. What lost them this game was the defense crumbling in the second half. I mean, I don't know if you heard me right before you came on. The Nuggets were great defensively in the first half. They gave up 23 points in the first quarter, 25 points in the second. And Adelman said before the game, the thing that concerned him most about the Magic's offense, and specifically Paolo Banchero, who was the first overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft, was their ability to rip teams apart in the painted area. Well, the Nuggets did a great job of limiting that in the first half. I don't know what happened at halftime because that completely went away.
I don't know, man.
They give 36 in the third and 43 points in the fourth quarter.
Terrible. You give
That's
up
what loses
70
you games.
You give up 79 points in the second half. I mean, listen, the Magic are okay. They're 11-6 now at home. So they're not a bad team, but dude, 79 points in the second half. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
We'll point out again, 27 points off 17 turnovers. I mean, just it's too many turnovers and too many easy buckets. That's what that is.
Well, and I told you, Malone said years ago, it's not necessarily the turnovers, the number that he's looking at. Although you don't want that to be super high, but his thing was always like, it's really the points off of turnovers that we're giving up. If we're turning the ball over a lot, but we're getting back on defense and able to play that half court defense and not allow these teams to get out in transition, we can live with that. But tonight, these turnovers for the Nuggets just led to way too easy of baskets for Orlando. And his number was, forget the amount of turnovers. What we're looking at is the points off of turnovers. He said, we want to try to maximize that at 15. Like that's where we want to cap that number. And you go 12 above that and you lose by 1 point. So even if you give up 25, you win the game.
Just to correct myself, because I'm looking at the official score sheet there. They actually have it now. 16 turnovers, not 17, but still 27 points though. Yeah. To compare that, 6 turnovers by the Magic, 4 points off 6 turnovers for the Nuggets. That's it. And by the way, Orlando sucked at the free throw line. They were terrible. They were 25 of 37, Dan. Dan, they missed 12 free throws. The Nuggets missed 3. So the difference in this game, it's not even close. It is turnovers and points off turnovers. The end. I mean, you miss 12 free throws and you win? What? That's actually ridiculous.
Yeah, the Nuggets, actually free throws for the Nuggets kind of kept them in this thing. They were 27 of 30, 90% from the line.
That's great.
And you lose the game by 1. It's the thing that just makes me it's so frustrating. It's got to be so frustrating for fans is the turnovers have been an Achilles heel for the Nuggets for years now. This isn't like this season sort of thing that's popped up. This has been an issue for a while now. And again, I know we've talked about this, D-Mac, but the one area where I do think it's fair to criticize the Joker is he turns the ball over too much.
Absolutely.
Now I say that with I give him a tad bit of grace when I say that because he is trying so many crazy passes and the majority of the time they work, so I do give him a little bit of grace in that area, but there are certain times where Joker is a little too careless with the ball. And when he's doing that, it almost seems like the rest of the team lacks a little bit of focus as far as taking care of the basketball as well. So that's what's a little frustrating, I'm sure, for a lot of Nuggets fans.
Well, tonight, you're right on, Dan. 7 turnovers for the Joker. Jamal Murray, no turnovers. But Jamal was 2 of 6 from 3, but 9 of 21 from the floor. Hey, the Joker had a triple-double. In fact, he had a triple-double. How about this? I heard them say this on the broadcast. He had a triple-double, a 3-quarter triple-double. In fact, there were like 4 minutes to go in the third, and he had a triple-double. the amount of triple doubles, and I might get this number kind of wrong, but it's like 75 triple doubles he's had before the fourth quarter started ties Wilt Chamberlain for Wilt Chamberlain's total amount of triple doubles. So
unbelievable.
Joker triple doubles before the fourth quarter ties Wilt Chamberlain for Wilt Chamberlain's career in triple
all-time career triple doubles.
But Yoke was 11 of 22 from the floor. Great from the free throw line. Again, he's been unbelievable from the free throw line. He's 12 of 13. He was 22 of 23 the other night, which means at the free throw line, that's actually pretty stunning that he's 34 of 36. That's crazy.
In 2 games.
In 2 games, yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, the turnovers kind of kill you on that one. Spencer Jones had 4 turnovers. Other than that, it was, none for Hardaway Jr., none for Jamal, 1 for Peyton Watson, 2 for Bruce Brown, and Jonas had 1, and that was it. So a lot of that, and the big reason for the loss in terms of turnovers actually is on Joker's shoulders tonight. But it feels weird saying anything negative about him at all.
I get it.
He went 34, 21, and 12. So
I get it. I totally get it. And like I said, that's weird. Really the only area that is even remotely fair to criticize the Joker is he does tend to turn the ball over too much. I'll try and keep this in mind for Monday's No Dumb Question segment on our radio show. I would love to get Scott's opinion on when a team has a propensity to turn the ball over at a high rate. What are some of the things that coaches or the players themselves can do to really limit the turnovers? And the reason I would love to hear Scott's answer to that is because, like I said, this hasn't just been an issue over the last couple of weeks or this season. This has been an issue for years now with 2 different head coaches. Okay. So you can't say, well, maybe it was Malone's style or maybe it's Adelman's style.
Yeah.
At this point, to me, it's like, okay, this is on the players to get this fixed. So I would love to hear Scott's, sort of like, hey, what would you tell your team if you're coaching a team and they're turning the ball over too much? What are you working on practice? What are you telling them in the timeout huddles? All of that stuff. I would love to hear. Shoot, I'd love to hear Nikola Jokic or Jamal or some of the players like, hey, what can you guys do to limit some of these turnovers? I think that would be really interesting. But with all that being said, D-Mac, we did have several positive things that came out of the Nuggets game tonight. First off, it was great to see Julian Strawther back and producing, because with Cam Johnson, Christian Brown, and Aaron Gordon out, they need him to produce. They need another shooter off the bench, especially if Tim Hardaway is being inserted in the starting lineup. Like, that's where Tim Hardaway is so valuable to this team, is you can bring him in off the bench and you're getting instant offense. Well, that now falls to Julian Strawther. Okay. So it was great to see him produce tonight. I thought it was, he hasn't played in that many games, but it was easily the best game of his season. He was 5 of 6 from the field, 13 points, 1 of 2 from 3. Loved what I saw, at least offensively, from Julian in his 17 minutes. And I don't know if you heard Adelman's pregame presser, but Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon are both on this road trip. Cam Johnson is not. And that's, we get that. Okay.
Right.
Adelman said in the pregame, they both have a chance to play at some point on this road trip. Christian, I was expecting. Aaron Gordon, that was kind of shocking to me, because my take has been, do not play Aaron Gordon until after the All-Star break, because the hamstring stuff scares me. But hey, if you can take some positives away from tonight's game, both of them were going through their pregame routine. That was great to see. And my God, could they use the help?
Yeah, it was good to see them going through that, wasn't it? And just seeing moving around and shooting threes. And AG was getting a sweat going, a little bit more active than CB, but both of them were moving around in the pregame. And they wouldn't be on the. I mean, what would the point of them being on this road trip if they're not going to play? This is an epic road trip, longest one they've had in a long time. 7 games, 13 days. What's the point of them being there? Just to hang around and get breakfast with the guys. So the sooner the better, Dan, because
where are you with Aaron Gordon? Like, because I don't want to see him until after the All-Star break. Look, I'm not a
when is the All-Star break? Help me out.
The All-Star break's not until February. So I'm in the camp of Shut him down until the All-Star break. Bring him back after the All-Star break. You've got 26 games after the All-Star break, D-Mac. 26, okay? That's plenty of time to get him back up and ramped up in the conditioning level he needs to be in. Get the chemistry back with the team, all that stuff. Make a run in the standings if they need to. And look, I'm not trying to say, hey, I know better than the Nuggets medical staff. Obviously, I don't. But what I do know is that hamstrings are a fickle beast, my friend. And those injuries, those soft tissue injuries, scare the bejesus out of me. This is what knocked Aaron Gordon out of the playoffs last. Well, it didn't knock him out. He played in Game 7 on one leg. But you get what I'm saying. He hurt his hamstring. Now, luckily, it was the opposite hamstring. But he's had issues with both hamstrings in an 8-month period. So my take is just shut him down until after the All-Star break, and then you let him loose. What do you think?
That's interesting. I certainly don't want him to come back unless he's just full out and ready to go. What's the point? We're not that. That's why this loss hurts. Because you'd like to put some wins in the bag so that there's not a deeper sense of urgency to bring him or Bruce Brown back. I mean, that would be silly, especially at this time of the year. I will say for a long road trip, Dan, it's not that bad, meaning there's no back-to-backs on this road trip. The travel between the games is actually pretty mellow. Like, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, they go to Miami on Monday. What's that, a train ride?
That's
I bet you they're not even flying.
And after
flying, I don't know.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't have to. They wouldn't be the first
they could take a boat.
Well, Orlando's a bit inland, but I mean, I know what you're saying. It's relatively close. And then, they go to Toronto, and all right, that's a little far away from Miami, but it's kind of a straight shot, though. You're not changing time zones. Remember last year they had that kind of insane, like, we're going to play in Philadelphia, then we're going to play in Indiana, then we're going to play in New York, that sort of thing. There's nothing like that. It's Miami, which is a short travel, no big deal. Toronto, straight shot, though. I mean, up and down the East Coast, but straight shot. Cleveland, not far from Toronto. Brooklyn, not far from Cleveland. Philly, now that you could take a train there.
There you
from
go.
Brooklyn to Philly, you could definitely do that. And then Boston, which is nothing. So, and they're, like I said, no back-to-backs, no 3 games at 4 nights. If you're going to play 7 games like this on the road, it is kind of an ideal way to do it. So it's just a shame they dropped this one here tonight. It really is. It puts a little bit more oomph on the rest of the schedule. I want to see them scramble out at least 3 wins here. And I know they've only lost 4 games on the road all year. So 4 games on the road trip would be a lot, obviously. But there's something about just hanging in there. And by the way, Dan, other teams are going to have injured players and be tired and travel too. They're not the only ones. A really exciting game for the Nuggets to win the other night on Christmas night. And this one, not equally as disappointing, but it is crazy that as exciting as that game was, the Joker 56-pointer over a really tough Minnesota team, it counts just as much as this loss tonight. It should have counted more. How about that?
It almost seemed like, I was kind of thinking about this when, like I mentioned, the defense just fell apart there in the 3rd and 4th quarter. It almost felt like the Nuggets were so emotionally spent from that super late Christmas night game. Then you got to get up early the next day. You got to fly all the way across the country. I'm not trying to make excuses for these guys, but this is the real life,
Maybe, Dan, maybe that did catch up with them in the second half.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what it looked like because they had some juice to start the game. Like I said,
yeah, they were playing great.
Their defense was playing great. I'm never worried about the offense. I mean, they scored 31 points in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd quarter and 43 in the 4th. So their offense was fine. If this team scores 126 points in regulation, DMAC, they should win 95% of those games. And tonight was just, and you give up 48, was it, in the first half, and you give up 127 for the game.
Terrible.
To me, that's a team that was emotionally spent. They just came off a great win Christmas night, super late game that went to overtime. You had all your starters play 40-plus minutes. That's what happens. The offense doesn't tend to go a lot of the times when teams are tired. the defense goes, and that's what we saw tonight.
By the way, I'm seeing it in the comments. You guys are right. The refs did suck tonight. They did. I mean, the refs sucked. The rules of the NBA kind of sucked. Having to use 2 challenges and timeouts when you shouldn't have had to, that sucks. And Adelman did talk about that. A ridiculously long fourth quarter because every single thing, that sucked. The phantom call on Bane when he tripped over his own 2 feet, so he's shooting free throws. That sucked. I'm with you. There's a lot of sucking with the refs tonight. I agree with you. So there you go. It was I don't know.
I wouldn't disagree.
It shouldn't have been that close. It's just that those moments did suck. But you did have a 9-point lead going into the fourth quarter. You did have that. So how about you don't? I think they started the game, Dan, 9-0, didn't they? And they kind of gave up the cookies on a 9-0 start.
Actually, they started off 7-0, and then Orlando went on a 9-0 run to go up 9-7.
Okay,
That's
so 7-0.
I believe that's what it was.
Right.
But the other thing that was just you're starting to see the injuries mount up as far as the play on the court goes, meaning like that second unit. Scott said it on the broadcast. He's like, let's be honest, this second unit is put together with Band-Aids, and it's not Adelman's fault. It's not the organization's fault. It's nobody's fault that they're having to do this. But I will say, like, for the most part, they've been doing a pretty damn good job considering the fact that they've been put Band-Aided together. But tonight was an instance where it really showed out. To start the second quarter and the fourth quarter, their second unit has no identity on offense. It did earlier in the year. They tried to bring Jamal in with the second unit. That's worked at times throughout the year. But here's my problem with what's been happening lately with the second unit. Okay. So they bring in Jamal about 3 minutes into the second quarter to stagger him with the second unit. Well, earlier in the season, DMAC, they've been running a 2-man game with Jamal and Jonas Valanciunas like they would Jamal and Jokic. And it's been pretty effective. I was actually kind of surprised by that. I'm like, wow, they really don't have to change the way they run their offense all that much when it's Val and Jamal Murray running the 2-man game. But what it's devolved into is when Jamal comes in and staggers with the second unit, whether it's to start the second or the fourth, like we've seen in both scenarios, it's turned into Jamal Murray just dribbling the air out of the basketball and trying to go one-on-one and throws a shot up at the end of the shot clock. So that's something that's been a little frustrating to see as well. I would really like to see them get back to at least trying to run the 2-man game between Jonas Valanciunas and Jamal Murray. I think that would help the second unit out, at least until they can get some of these guys back and get a little more depth in the second unit.
Yeah, great points by you, Dan, top to bottom on all that. So let's see. I mean, hopefully that can work itself out, and we got to just suffer through this time without AG, Christian, and now Cam Johnson, and we just got to hope that what is a really special group and an incredible player and two all-stars this year isn't ruined because you just have a bunch of injuries, down the line. That being said, how about your Broncos being AFC West champions? Huh?
So cool, man. I was telling KJ, I was like, I was so pumped. The Chargers lost. The Broncos clinched the AFC West for the first time in a decade.
Right, let's go.
And the Nuggets had to lose a game like this.
I know.
So the Avs better kick the crap out of Vegas tonight.
Yeah.
Get my mood back up. Let's see. What's the score in that? Vegas is up 1-0.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get downstairs and watch Cat Cave downstairs. She's already hollering and yelling.
Yeah.
So
all right, buddy. Thanks for coming on. Have a good night.
Yep. I'll see you.
All right, there he goes. Yeah. All right, Avs are down 1-0. The Nuggets lose to the Magic 127-126. Was really cool to see the Broncos get the AFC West crown today. Like I said, the first time in 10 years. That happened basically right before tip-off for the Nuggets and the Magic. That was awesome to see. So congratulations to the Broncos in that one. What an awesome fall and early winter it's been for Denver sports fans. I mean, the Avalanche have the most points of any team in NHL history before the holiday break. The Broncos are the number one seed in the AFC. They have the best record in the NFL, and the Nuggets are hanging in there dealing with all these injuries. You know, DMAC just said, just got to suck it up and suffer through these injuries that the Nuggets have been dealing with, but it's been over a month. Like Christian Brown, by the way, his diagnosis was roughly 6 weeks. Today was the 6-week marker. Okay. Aaron Gordon injured his hamstring in Houston on November 21st. So we're at about the 5-week mark with AG. Like, that's what I was going to say to DMAC. We've already been dealing with this. We've already been suffering through the injuries for well over a month now. And quite honestly, with how well the Nuggets have been playing, it's kind of shocked me just a little bit, because when they have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, those two they cover up a lot of warts. I mean, we saw that over the years when the Nuggets weren't super deep, unlike this year, which they are. But as long as those two guys, and I'm knocking on wood, are healthy and rolling, they'll be okay. And it was good news. If you missed it before the game, David Adelman said in his pregame press conference that Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon, who are both on the road trip, both have a chance to play at some point on this road trip. Now, does that mean they're going to play? No, it does not. But the fact that they're on the road trip and Adelman saying they're getting close, they have a chance to play on this road trip, is a very good sign. I would expect Christian Brown to be back sooner than Aaron Gordon, but we'll see. It seems like the cavalry is on its way for your Denver Nuggets. And then they've just got to hope that Cam Johnson is able to come back before the playoffs start, get some action, get back into the groove of things. That's what sucked with Cam going down. He was playing so well for this team over the last 20 games. I know he had a rough start, but when he came back from that bicep injury, he was rocking and rolling. You could tell he started to get into the flow of what the Nuggets like to do, specifically on the offensive end. I thought his defensive presence was very good as well. You can tell he's a high IQ basketball player on both ends of the floor. So it really sucked to see Cam Johnson go down. I still maintain, I know it's it's not my knee that's injured, so it's easy for me to say this, but the fact that it wasn't an ACL tear. When he first went down, I thought he tore his ACL. So that obviously would have been worst case scenario. He hyperextended his knee. It's a bone bruise. I know those are significant, serious injuries, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be a season-ending injury for Cam Johnson. He should be back at some point in the regular season before the playoffs begin. And that's as long as he can get back and get a couple of games under his belt even before the playoffs begin, I'll count that as a win for this team and Cam Johnson, because that's what they definitely need. All right, let's see here. Get to some of your comments. Timmy, been hooping all year. It's great to see. Yeah, Tim Hardaway, that's another guy. You know, I talk about Jokic and Murray. As long as they're in there, this team has a chance to survive the rash of injuries they've had to deal with early in the season. That's a great point. Tim Hardaway, you got to throw him in there too, because that guy has been a rock star for this team. I would say of all the free agent additions so far that the Nuggets made over the offseason, I like all of them, but Tim Hardaway has been the best one. And it was funny because I remember early July when all these moves were being made, he kind of went under the radar. It's just like, yeah, and they got Tim Hardaway. Well, it turns out so far, he's been their most valuable addition as far as the 2025 free agency class for the Denver Nuggets went. He's been outstanding. The Nuggets are not in the position they're in right now without that guy. So great point there from G Valdez. All right, let's see here. Scorpio says, as long as the Nuggets can get into the second round healthy, then dropping some bad games doesn't mean a whole lot. Yes, I 1000%. I've said this for years, actually. And this goes back to really the last couple of years when the Nuggets weren't as deep as they are this year. As long as they're like 8 main guys are healthy going into the playoffs, that's really all that matters. I get you do still need depth past those 8 guys. But if you remember going back to the Nuggets title run in 2023, they did have health luck. Okay. So I'm not trying to throw that aside, they stayed healthy throughout the playoffs. But if you can go into the playoffs as healthy as possible, I don't care if they go in as the 4 seed. I don't care if they go in as the 6 seed. I don't care if they go in as the 8 seed. I mean, I would prefer they don't have to play in the play-in tournament, but you get what I'm saying. I'd rather them fall in the standings while gaining health than vice versa. Kill themselves to get a top 4, 3, 2 seed like we saw a couple years ago, and they ran out of gas against the Timberwolves in the second round. So I'm with you. Like this team is good enough to, as long as they're healthy, even if these injuries catch up with them as far as the standings go in the regular season and they fall to, let's say, the 6 seed, as long as they're healthy going into the playoffs, this is a championship level roster. I'm telling you, when they're healthy, that's exactly what needs to happen, and they can do it. As long as they're healthy going into the playoffs, I don't care what seed they are good enough to win an NBA title. I don't care if they have to go on the road. Who cares? Like, I think home court, home ice, home field, maybe in the NFL, it's a little more important. But in the NBA and the NHL, we see road teams win series all the time. We see road teams win road games all the time. I really think the home court or home ice advantage is minuscule at best. Now, in the NFL, I do think it is a little bit different because of the crowd noise with communication in the huddle and calls at the line. If you're trying to throw in audibles at the line, like that, I understand, and I do think that is a significant advantage. But in the NBA and the NHL, I just don't think it matters. Really, is the healthiest teams in the NHL and NBA playoffs, the teams that are able to survive the grind of these playoffs are the ones that typically go on to win championships. And like I'm acting like it's doom and gloom here for the Nuggets. I mean, they're doing fine in the standings. I know they lost tonight, but they're still third in the West. They're 22-9. I believe the Spurs lost tonight. They're only one game back of the 2 seed. So they're doing fine. And as long as Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown are able to come back sooner than later and help this team get some of the cavalry back, this team will be just fine. But make no mistake, tonight was a very disappointing loss. This was a game they should have won. And sometimes that's the way she goes. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for the post-game show tonight. Appreciate you being patient while I was finishing up our network post-game coverage. But we'll be back coming up on Monday as the Nuggets will travel south of Orlando to take on the Miami Heat. We'll be back with another edition of In the Paint then. Thanks for listening to In the Paint on Altitude Sports.